Welcome, guys, to another day of After Hours. It's me, Valdes, joined by Wolf. Oh, wait, no, that's not Wolf, that's RAPiD.
That's Budget Wolf.
Guys, we're going to jump into discussing our first matchup of next week. It is going to be Classic versus Stats, the PvP. What do you think, Budget Wolf?
What do you think, Budget Wolf?
I mean,
RAPiD.
we just finished a nice PvP to close out today's games, and Classic was able to take out Deer. So I really just think that Classic has always been just a PvP mastermind. So shouldn't be anything different. We also got a chance to see what Stats looks like in PvP, and I think it's safe to say that Classic is probably a favorite next week.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you on this matchup. In the PvP matchup, it seems like Classic and Deer are kind of on another level from Stats. I really want to see more of what Stats can do in the PvP matchup. He really does have to prove to everyone that he can defeat Classic. I don't want to bring the memes in, but like Classic greater than Deer and Deer greater than Stats, so obviously Classic greater than Stats.
Somewhere we got to fit Hero in there.
Yeah, Hero's somewhere in there. We'll have to get a look at that later, but definitely going to be favoring Classic for this one as well. So for our second matchup, it's going to be Bill versus Dark. This is going to be a ZVZ. How are you feeling, RAPiD?
You know, I think we got a chance to see what Biel looked like in his ZVZ when he played against Solar, and it did not look good. And even tonight's games where Biel, even though it wasn't versus a Zerg, he played a very hard-fought game, but ultimately, once again, wound up losing. And I think after watching Dark and how strong he looked against Innovation, I really feel like he's probably going to start being on a roll. So I would go with Dark here.
Yeah, Dark definitely strikes me as the Zerg player who, in this knife fight of ZVZ, will come out ahead in most of his trades.
Got better rollerblades.
Yeah, kind of. So he definitely used to be very passive, but nowadays I think he's doing a lot of work in terms of just working on his ZVZ, trying to get ahead in very small locations. As you were talking about before, Biel, he's not doing well. He's 0-3. He hasn't beaten anyone yet. He looks totally different compared to his Season 1 form, and after Dark defeated Innovation, man, this guy could be our new champion. So for this matchup, I think it's a little bit more obvious. I would have to give this one to Dark as well. So for our third matchup of the night, it is going to be Solar versus Alive, a ZVT, and I think this one is a little bit obvious too, Reed.
It's probably our most one-sided match of the night. Solar has just been looking really, really good, especially in mirror matches, but Alive has just really struggled lately, and so I think the biggest thing to watch out for is, the same thing as we saw against Innovation was, can anybody take this out? Well, the opposite side is like, well, when is Alive going to win a game? I'm sure it will happen eventually. Alive's a very good player. Is it going to be versus Solar? Probably not.
Yeah, in this matchup as well, in terms of just the player versus player, like I know Alive's not doing very well, but Solar, he's fantastic at multitasking. He's a really, really fast player, whereas Alive, as we saw in the last series that he lost today, he just tries to outmicro his opponents. He goes for multiple drops, and they weren't really that successful today against Stats, I would have to say. So I think Solar is just going to get the jump on this guy. He's going to be ahead of him all game, and I would expect the 2-0 from Solar. So for our fourth matchup of the night, it is going to be Maru versus Hero, the TVP. Any thoughts on this one, RAPiD?
I was thinking about this as we were watching our games tonight. Maru eventually able to overcome his Zerg opponent, but when it comes to facing off against Hero, I feel like Hero's never somebody that you can count out. I think by far of the matches coming up next week, this is going to be probably our most even matchup, because even though it feels like Hero might have been struggling a little bit lately, when he goes up against Maru, that's where we really get a chance to see which one of our players is truly destined to maybe slingshot ahead in the group. So I think it's going to be very even. I would say that probably Protoss have a lot of things that they can exploit, and Hero's always been one of those very creative players. Really doesn't have too many holes to his strategy, so I would give maybe a slight edge to Hero.
I would have to say that you are correct on this one, RAPiD, as well, because, I mean, Maru, he went up against Deer multiple times, against other Protosses, lost to Classic as well, if I'm correct in that, and he's been having trouble against Protosses lately. It's no secret. He doesn't look up to his, his better form, as we used to see back in 2014, 2015, and he's been struggling in the current meta. And I think that Hero, even though he's been having a rough time trudging through Premier right now, he's sitting at 1-2. I still think he is going to edge slightly ahead of Maru. I would say that this is definitely one of these matchups where we could see an upset if Maru just shows up on the day. But if I had to give a prediction for this one, I'd probably have to say Hero 2-1. And for our final match of the night, it is going to be Deer versus Innovation. Now, Deer was looking really good. I was all on the Deer hype train. I was so excited to see him tonight. I thought he was going to be 3-0 after defeating Classic, but I was wrong. I was also wrong about another thing, RAPiD. Innovation actually lost the game to Dark earlier on today. So lots of craziness going into this matchup. What are you thinking after both of these guys lost?
You know, I think it's always a bad idea to bet against Innovation, which is why I would have lost today. Deer is an up-and-comer. He still has a little bit to prove, but I think at least when it comes to his Protoss versus Protoss, I thought he was pretty good. Well, after today's games, maybe not quite so much. And while Innovation might have hit a little bit of a bump in the road versus Dark, he's still an incredible player. And I feel like especially his play style, which you can't really go for that Mass Reaper style anymore, well, not versus Protoss. So his more like slow and steady macro focus is just going to be something that Deer won't be able to keep up with. So I'd give Innovation a strong chance at taking it 2-0.
Yeah, for me, one of the things that always I struggled with when I had to do predictions about Deer was his inconsistency. He would show up one day and he'd look like a god. He would 3-0 Bjorn in Challenge. He would 3-1 Hero in Challenge as well the week before. And then he comes in today and he did not look like the same player that we saw for the first 2 weeks. So in terms of his inconsistency, that's something that we see a lot out of Innovation. Innovation is pretty much always consistent. There was a small bump in the road against Dark, but I think Dark just played really fantastically. And I would have to say, in this moment in time, Deer did not impress me today. Even though Innovation lost, I would still say he impressed me a little bit more. He's still on a roll. He's still the king currently of SSL. And I'd have to say Innovation takes this one with a clean 2-0. So thanks once again for joining us here at After Hours with me and RAPiD. Thank you, of course, RAPiD, for joining me. It was good to have you, and we'll see you guys for week 4 of SSL Premier at 7 p.m. As always, we'll see you there.